All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Thanks so much to everyone for joining today. My name is Monica, and I have Samantha Savage here from our customer success team here to present today's webinar to you all. Just a reminder that the webinar will be recorded and it will be sent out after the webinar is completed. We'll send out that recording. Also, I'll keep everybody muted to reduce background noise. So if you have questions, please ask them via the Q&A section of the Zoom. You'll see that right on the bottom where you're viewing the screen. It says Q&A. So go ahead and ask your questions there throughout the presentation, and we'll pause at various times to get to those questions. If we don't get to all the questions during the webinar, I will make sure to follow up with people afterwards. But with that, I will let Samantha take it away.
All right, thank you, Monica. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We're going to talk about how Quartzy can help you to streamline your lab operations. Just to give a little bit of background, I'm a customer success manager here at Quartzy. I've been here a little bit over a year, but I have a lot of experience with Quartzy. I used to be a Quartzy customer and used it to manage our lab for about 2 years. We were able to grow from a group of about 20 when we were first getting Quartzy started, and then we expanded up to 200 people. So I can attest to the kind of versatility of Quartzy and how it can really help you to expand and track really anything you need to in the lab. All right. So for our agenda today, I'm going to start with a Quartzy introduction, just give you a little background on Quartzy. We're going to talk about Quartzy quotes, and I'll show you how they appear in the application. We'll talk about some of the benefits of ordering from Quartzy, and I'll have a little bit of information about things that we've changed recently. We'll jump into a demo to show you how Quartzy can help you manage your orders and your inventory. I'll show you what's new on Quartzy, and we'll go through a couple slides on how to get started. So to start, for those of you that aren't aware, Quartzy is an online software that is built for collaborative lab management. And this is actually one of our labs at UC Berkeley. So we're illustrating here that Quartzy really brings multiple different team members together in one software to talk and communicate about their orders and their inventory. So we have finance, scientists, lab managers, graduate students, anyone really in the lab or outside of the lab supporting the lab, all communicating in one software. Quartzy's mission is to help accelerate science, and we do this by making sure that labs never run out of the supplies they need to do their experiments. So Quartzy was started by 2 scientists, Adam Riegelman and Giant Kulkarni, and they were leading research at Columbia University when they saw those inefficiencies of tracking things on whiteboards and using Excel. And they created this universal tool to address the problems that they faced in the lab. And today, Quartzy serves over 300,000 scientists in all sorts of research industries, academia, pharma, and more. So these are some examples of customers in both academia and industry that use Quartzy. So usually when labs come to look for a solution like Quartzy, they're really trying to tackle the lab supply lifecycle issue. So there might be a situation where a lab manager is really looking for a way to easily track all of the orders that are needed for various experiments in the lab. So they need the researchers to be able to just come into a software, add in everything that they need, and then they can go back and might need an approval workflow of some sort, kind of mark items approved, check that the finance string is correct. And then they need a step to actually mark items ordered and be able to communicate that to the staff. So Quartzy has a request workflow that accommodates adding requests, having some kind of approval checkpoint, as well as marking items ordered. And you'll see here that Quartzy is also a life science supply distributor. So in addition to providing this platform to help you track your lab management, needs. We're also a life science supply distributor of over 1,800 leading life science supplier partnerships. We have over 10 million SKUs and are always expanding that. And in addition, we have 2 Quartzy fulfillment centers, one on the West Coast in Hayward, California, where our headquarters is. And we also have one in Pine Brook, New Jersey, to help serve as many customers across the US as possible. And we're actually continually expanding the inventory in those warehouses to get things to you even faster. If you order an item from Quartzy, we actually update those requests with your PO numbers, your tracking information, and you would really only be working with Quartzy as your vendor communicator. So we handle all of that for you as well. I'll go through that a little bit more in depth shortly, but just wanted to kind of touch on that here. When items come into the lab, you can also mark them received within the request workflow that automatically creates an entry in your inventory. So you'll have both it tracked in your order history and creating this entry into the inventory. You can update quantities and mark items used. And then when you're running low, you can re-request the item and it will add a request back into the request workflow. So it really completes that lab supply life cycle loop. You also can use the inventory to track really anything that you're making in the lab as well. So while things that fit in this lab supply life cycle loop are kind of complete, you can also add in additional inventory items as you need to. And we'll talk more about that shortly. There are some entities that really enjoy our accounting integrations. So we do have an integration with QuickBooks Online, as well as NetSuite. So accounting can also kind of complete this loop if those are softwares that you're using. So let's talk about Quartzy quotes. Relative to the catalog number that you're entering in here in Quartzy, Quartzy might offer you a quote on an item. So in this example, Chloe here has added these Falcon tubes, and she specifically chose this catalog number from Corning. She's entered a price here. It might be, her contracted price, might be list price. Relative to that price and catalog number, Quartzy might offer you a quote. If you choose to accept that quote, you'll click this accept quote option here, and it'll flip over to change the catalog number and the vendor. Now you'll see that the supplier here is chosen as Quartzy rather than the prior example. That would mean that I was just purchasing it straight from Corning, but now it says Quartzy. So that indicates I'm going to try to place this order with Quartzy. You'll also see it updates the price and it updated that vendor information as well. So the kinds of quotes we offer depend on that catalog number that you've entered. So if we offer you an exact match, that is referencing the manufacturer part number. So with various different distributors, you see that they all have slightly different catalog numbers. Our software is smart enough to understand that catalog number, interpret it, and kind of assess it to what is the actual manufacturer part number. So you'll see here in these cases, if you entered this catalog number from Fisher, we might offer you a quote if we can provide this exact same product from Corning, and then we will offer the quote as an exact match. By contrast, we do have equivalent matches as well, and we might offer you a quote on that. It's a scientifically vetted alternative product with identical or superior specs. And you should be able to substitute a Quartzy equivalent match into your workflow with little to no change to your protocol's speed, ease, or quality of results. So how does ordering from Quartzy in general benefit you? We do offer pre-negotiated pricing. So we have our own relationship with those 1,800 plus leading life science suppliers. So we will extend that pre-negotiated pricing to you. We also handle all of that vendor communication. You don't have to reach out to Celltreat and Sigma and all these different vendors. You can just work with Quartzy and our support team. And we handle those order updates for you as well. So if you order an item from Quartzy and in Quartzy, we will update that request with your PO numbers, your tracking information, all of that. We do provide quotes for equivalent matches, and they are vetted by our team of scientists. They have decades of cumulative experience in science and have a lot of experience doing this kind of two-step verification protocol to ensure that they're comparing all of the specs side by side. And if you ever have a question about an equivalent match that we offer, you can reach out to support@quartzy.com and our team will get back to you. We're happy to look for equivalent options for you, especially with all the supply chain issues that have been happening. We have those 2 Quartzy fulfillment centers I mentioned to get products to you faster. And Quartzy Shop now provides product details, specs, SDSs, and we're always working on improving it to ensure that we're providing you the best options. And what sets us apart is our delightful customer support team. And I mentioned them earlier. They do have a satisfaction score above 97%. And I can tell you this team will go to bat for you. As a customer, I definitely reached out to them and I was so grateful for their tone, their appreciation for customers. And I loved the fact that when I actually started working at Quartzy, they remembered me. They remembered like specific details about issues I had had or questions I had had. And I really appreciated that. It made me feel like I was working with like a small local business. It was incredible. So I can't say enough good things about this team. They're incredible. And this is a quote from a customer. She says that Quartzy is one of the most valuable laboratory management tools we've ever encountered. Aside from consolidating our ordering workflow, Quartzy's catalog provides tremendous value, and it's far more convenient than ordering from a supplier. All right, so I'm going to jump into demo, pause briefly, and see if we have any questions so far.
There is a question that came up that I am answering in the chat right now that I think I misunderstood initially. So let me see if I can actually answer it live here. It's related to marking requests as received into the inventory. So you haven't really gone over this yet with the demo. So we might be able to explain it once we get there, but it relates to when you mark an item as received. Sometimes you get the option to update the existing item in the inventory if one exists in there, but sometimes you don't. So how does the system know when you're able to update an existing item versus when you're kind of adding a new item? So maybe you'll get there and we can kind of talk about it when you get to that received kind of workflow. But yeah, that's kind of the only question that's come up so far.
Absolutely. I'll definitely go through that when we go through the request workflow. Sounds good.
Perfect.
All right. So first, I just want to kind of orient you to our 3 main modules. So we have our request module that is like your digital shopping list. It's an area where you'll have kind of this nice condensed list of everything that's needed in the lab. You can see who's requesting it. What's the price? What are the different vendors they're purchasing from or wanting to purchase from? And then you'll also see all those Quartzy quotes. If there are items that we can source for you, might see quotes here, like this little green one. You'll also see over here on the top corner, this is our request workflow. So you are able to kind of view your requests and bucket them into the various order statuses that they're in. So in my new tab, these are all the brand new requests that folks have added. I have an option here to mark them approved, and I can update their status. They'll move over into that approved tab. So I'll do just one so you can see what it looks like. It's just going to move over from my new tab into my approved tab. And then maybe me as the lab manager, I can now come in to my approved tab and I can go and place these orders. So I can place these Quartzy orders with Quartzy, Or for an item like this one that I'm indicating I'm going to purchase directly from Kimberly-Clark, then I can go forward and place that order with Kimberly-Clark. Once I actually order an item, I can mark it ordered. So I'll go forward with this one. You can see that it moves over into the approved tab, and then I can mark items ordered. I can go ahead and mark it ordered, and it will move over into our ordered tab. Along the way, as my request is getting updated, it's sending an email. So the person who requested the item, Katie, or in that case, it was Amy, she's getting an email notification saying my request has been approved, my request has been ordered. And then when it's finally marked received, you'll also get an email notification with the location referenced. So I'll show you how that works as well. All right, and then I want to just jump over briefly to show you that we do have an inventory module as well. And then lastly, we have the shop. So the shop is an excellent, quick way to look at anything Quartzy can source for you. And we'll kind of go through that when we go through the full request workflow, but I wanted to just kind of orient you to what these modules are and what they mean. Okay, so within the request module, to add a request, you can start by using this add request blue button. So here you see you can freely search, or you can add in a specific vendor and catalog number that you're looking for. So let's say that I'm looking for this item from Fisher. And I'm going to enter my catalog number for DMEM Media. So the first option that's going to appear is anything found in your request history. So this is an item I've purchased previously. It kind of recalls my previous price I referenced. And if I want to just purchase this item again, I can just re-request the item here. I can also update any of the information. So if I know actually the price went up, I can always update the price here. The next section is anything Quartzy can source for you. And you see Quartzy doesn't provide that exact item, so we're providing equivalent products here. So you can go into the product pages, kind of review and look at the specs. You can also go to the vendor site if you want to see more information there. And then we'll have a little breakdown on our shipping estimate on this item as well. This section for an item found in your inventory, that's going to answer the question that Monica just mentioned. So if you want to replace an item that is already existing in your inventory, you'll want to re-request an item using this inventory flow. You can also do the same functionality of adding this request if you're in the inventory module. It'll work the same way as adding it in this request workflow. Or if you're in the inventory module, you can just click request and it will add a new request from that existing item. If you want to add a brand new item that isn't a replacement of the inventory, then you can choose this request history option, the Quartzy shop option, or lastly, this available from other vendors option. If you're looking at this and still thinking, I have a request that maybe it doesn't have a catalog number, or I want to purchase it from a different vendor, you can still use Quartzy to track those orders as well. You'll use our request form. So when I click on the request form, it's automatically populating that catalog number I had entered before and my vendor. But I can always change this information too. So if I need to change this to a different company, I can do that. I can say, this is from Fred's Silver and Company. I can change that, and then I can change my catalog number and enter really whatever I need to. So you can use Quartzy to track any of your needs in the lab. So let's say for this item, I'm going to go forward with this DMEM media. And now you'll see our request form, similar to the one I just showed you. You'll be able to add in all your additional information. So we do have a way for you to categorize your items by type. So you can track, your bacterial stocks, your cell lines, your general supplies, both at the request level and within the inventory. Here is where you can add in different projects. So you can add in your grant IDs. Maybe if you're doing like project ABC, you can really track these however you need to. And both type and project and or spend tracking code, those are both filters in the request module. So you'd be able to pull reports based on those fields. Here you see we have placeholders for requisition and PO. So if you do enter a non-Quartzy request, you can always use those fields to track that information for orders that you're ordering from another vendor. You have a searchable notes field here, and then you also have the ability to upload a quote. So I'll just go ahead and add the request. And now you see it populates in my new tab here. Here's an example of how Quartzy might offer you a quote. So based on your price per unit that you entered here, Quartzy can beat the price. So we'll offer you this little green quote down here. You can click accept the quote and it'll flip over to Quartzy being the vendor. If you ever need to change one back, you can do that as well. So if you click on this description icon here, you can click to switch it back. And then you can track it as you need to, update your pricing, update your vendor information, whatever you need to do. Okay, so that's really the workflow for adding your request. Now I'm going to actually mark an item received so you can see what that looks like. So let's say this item that we ordered, let's say the maxi kit. So first I want to show you something kind of cool. So if I have a PO number that's entered in here, I can also search and filter by just those items. So here I see that now I've searched that PO, it automatically pulls up just the item that's associated with that PO. So then when I mark it received, I have an option here to add the item to the inventory. So here you see an example of this is an item that was requested from the inventory. So it has that option to update the existing item. So it's pulling in the information from my inventory that I currently have and asking, am I just replacing this or am I adding this in addition? If I want to add it in addition, I can add it as a brand new item. Or I can just update this quantity stock. So I currently have one, so now I'm going to say I have two. Here you can see this is where you're going to choose your location. So right now it defaults to the existing items location, but I can change that as well. So if I want to say, I'm actually going to put this in the TC room fridge, and then I can even add additional sublocations and click save. Any questions about the request workflow?
I don't think so. Yeah, I think we're good. I'm answering a question in the chat right now, but I think that'll be good.
Perfect. Excellent. So then I'll show you, let's look at this same catalog number. And we're going to jump over into the inventory. So the inventory, once an item is received, it will automatically populate that item into the inventory, either as an either as a new item or as an existing item, as we just went through. So here you see that those 2 units are now in here, and it says that my location is in the TC fridge 1. Okay. So this is our inventory. This is really where all of your items are tracked, both from your request history, as well as any items that you add into the inventory. You'll see over here along this left-hand side, this is a really handy way to filter and sort and search your inventory. So let's say I'm looking for an antibody and I want to see all of the antibodies we have in our inventory. So once I filter down, you can see that I have, this is kind of my list of all the antibodies I have. When I click on individual items, then I can see those locations and any type information about those items. So here I have custom fields relative to this type. So I can see, relative to the information that's entered here, is this a good antibody for flow or Western blot, immunofluorescence. So I can kind of choose from here. And then I can update my quantity up here as well. So if I use some of this, I want to say I have, half a unit left. We also have this new feature that helps you to track your kind of minimum quantity and then what's the max to stock that you want to keep in stock. So we can add that information too. So let's say I actually want to make sure I always have at least one on hand for this item, then I can add that and it will show me what items are low in stock. So I'll just refresh real quick and then it will show me all of my items that are low in stock. We now also have a little filter toggle on the left-hand side. So if you want to see all the items that you have low in stock, you can filter it here. When I'm filtered on my type specific filter, I also have a way to customize my view here. So I can see my custom fields here, and then I can see all of my standard fields here. And you see I got that little indicator that this item is low in stock. Okay, so that's really kind of the brief overview of the inventory module. Lastly, I want to show you the shop. So this is an excellent way to search anything that Quartzy can source for you. So if you know you need gloves and you want to see what are all the options that Quartzy can find for me, I can easily search the shop. We also just added all of these additional categories and ways to search the shop. So you can, choose a specific category, and then you can further kind of drill down into that. So if we want to see the gloves category, we can choose that, and then we can choose additional subcategories to kind of further filter based on your needs. So let's say temperature resistant, and you'll see all of those needs here. I also want to point out items that are going to ship from our Quartzy Fulfillment Center are indicated here, as well as the tiny little box icon in the request module. So you'll be able to see all the items that we're shipping for you direct from our Quartzy Fulfillment Center. You can also use this little toggle right here to look at just items that are going to ship from our Fulfillment Center. All right. So that's kind of the general overview of our modules. I'm going to pop back into my presentation, but I want to give a second. Monica, any questions?
No open questions right now.
Okay, cool. Great. So I really want to talk about the new features. So I'm going to take a little bit of time so we can do that. Let me just pop this back in slideshow. All right. So the product team has been very, very busy this year and will continue to be busy. So I want to get this information out to everyone so you can get excited about all the things that are here now and coming soon. So we have our multi-step tiered approval workflow. There are some improvements that have been made to tracking your inventory, Quartzy mobile app. We also are working tirelessly to find more and more ways to integrate with softwares that you're using. And of course, the buying from the shop functionality is always improving. So customized approval workflows. So we heard from customers that they really needed a way to implement multi-step tiered approvals that can route your approvals however you need them. It might be with a budget, so you might have different approvers at different levels of budget spend. You also might have a situation where you have like a safety officer who needs to approve all of the chemical purchases. You can also set it up based on type. And you'll see here, we have an option to create teams as well. So based on a type specific situation, you could set up approval teams. You can also set up approval teams if you need to skip someone that's on vacation. You can set up an approval team so they can be notified when items need to be approved. This is how it appears in the actual request itself. So you can kind of see what the status is of the approval. So the improvements we've made to the Quartzy shop include that little category search functionality that I went through. You have those additional subcategories that you can filter down with. And coming soon, we will also be able to provide a quote within the request itself for an item that Quartzy can source for you. And this would be relative to the catalog number you enter. We would offer a quote within the request if this is the exact item that we can offer a quote for. So using inventory to keep track of your supplies. Our vision really is to create an inventory system that bridges the physical and digital worlds. It helps to organize research and storage spaces, to alert lab managers and item owners when something's running low, and inform users on how much of an item needs to be ordered. That's kind of like that max threshold idea. So one thing I did not go through when we went in the demo is that you do have the ability to track you have the ability to track freezer box locations. So if you're using freezer boxes to organize your freezer storage, that is something Quartzy already can do for you. So reach out to us if you need any help with setting that up as well. We're always looking for ways we can expand that and expand the ways that you can track all of your quantities of items in all of your storage spaces. So here are some of the features and improvements. This is our roadmap. So I want to start with the idea of kind of being able to update your inventory very quickly and easily in the lab. So this is an example of the barcodes that can be generated from your inventory module. So when items are marked received or added to the inventory, they automatically get a serial number assigned to them. And we now have the functionality to allow you to create barcodes from those serial numbers. It currently is in an Avery 2x4 barcode kind of orientation for the label. So it will generate a document in Microsoft Word, and then you can print those on those Avery 2x4 labels. Then the idea is that you would take this label and go put it on a shelf in your stock room. So currently the functionality is really for items that are high use that you're needing to pull off the shelf and update the quantities quickly. Here's that low stock feature that I mentioned earlier. So this is now available in Quartzy to allow you to set minimum and maximum thresholds. And here is that filter option we went through. And this brings me nicely into the Quartzy mobile app. So the Quartzy mobile app was designed to help you keep track of those stockroom items, those cases and items that are coming off of the shelf. And we wanted to help you to eliminate the need to do manual checks on those frequently ordered items with your clipboards and sticky notes and create a streamlined flow for both lab managers and researchers. So within the lab, you can pull up your mobile device, scan that barcode that you generated in the inventory, and it will show you the option to update the quantity. Coming soon, you'd be able to also re-request an item, update information in the inventory, and change any additional information. You see down here that you can also use the manual search functionality. So if you're not quite ready to jump into the barcode functionality, you can still use the Quartzy mobile app to manually search and update your inventory. It is currently available in the Apple App Store as well as Google Play, so you can get started today.
Hey, Samantha, could I ask you to go back just one slide to the product roadmap? I want to just make a quick point here. So this is kind of what our product roadmap looks like. There's a public one that you can go to, and those little indicators, those circles on the right side there, EA means early access. So if you're in one of our special early access groups, you can see and start to use some of the features that we're working on before everybody else. Send us an email at support@quartzy.com if you want to be included in a group like that. And then GA means general availability. So that's the expected time that those features listed on the left there are expected to be available. So just wanted to put that note in there.
Fantastic. All right. So yeah, this is a little bit more information about all of our upcoming features. I really especially enjoy this section here. We are looking to capture data from those items that you're purchasing and allowing you to mark them received via the mobile app. We want you to be able to add your lot numbers, expiration dates, other inventory data from the vendor's barcodes. So our team is working diligently on looking at all of the options to help track more information automatically for you. All right, and then our integrations. So this is kind of our vision of the connected lab. If you are interested in any of these integrations, please reach out to us at support@quartzy.com. But let me talk through where we kind of are currently. So as I mentioned earlier, we do have integrations for QuickBooks Online as well as Oracle NetSuite. We are working on evaluating ways we can integrate with Microsoft Dynamics and Xero. We already have integrations for Slack and Microsoft Teams, as well as Google Sheets and Google Calendar. If you're interested in these integrations, reach out to our team and we'll set you up with all the information to get it set up. We're working on reporting analytics. So we do have a way to set up webhooks to allow you to integrate with Google Sheets, Asana, or Tableau. Reach out to us again if you are interested in any of the setting that up and any questions you might have. We're also very interested in integrating with the procure to pay solutions. So Coupa, SAP, and Ariba, as well as Jagger. We are looking into ways we can integrate with these systems as well. Electronic lab notebooks, probably familiar with Lab Guru, Lab Archives, and potentially Benchling. We currently actually have a partnership with Benchling working on an electronic lab notebook integration. So if you're interested in that, please reach out to us. We'd love to connect and talk through your use case. And then we have those vendor partnerships that I mentioned earlier. So we're working with vendors you're probably already working with, like Millipore Sigma or Corning. We'd be happy to talk more with you about your pricing experience and anything we can do to help. Here's an example of what that Slack and Teams integration looks like. So you'll get notifications about your Quartzy shop order statuses, and then you'll have your order number, estimated ship date. You'll get notifications based on when items are shipped, and you also have, it looks fairly similar in Microsoft Teams as well. If you'd like to get started, this is the web page to go to our docs with our user guides to set up. We also now have the webhooks and public APIs available. So you can create your own custom reports in Google Sheets. You can create a reminder in Google Calendar or cross off your inventory related tasks in Asana. And again, that's available at docs.quartzy.com. But we would love to help support you in getting these integrations set up at support@quartzy.com. All right, so I'm going to hand off to Monica to talk through a few things about subscriptions.
Yeah, thanks, Samantha. So yeah, any of you on the webinar right now or anybody listening to this recording, with our subscription options, you can choose the plan that's right for you. Academia, nonprofit, and government labs can use Quartzy's lab management features at no cost right now. That includes the inventory, requests, as well as shop functionality for labs in the US. If your lab does not fall under one of those categories, then the standard plan may be for you. With the standard plan, you'll get access to all features just mentioned, as well as have the ability to manage features at the organization level. So this includes seat management, as well as custom request fields and an integration with QuickBooks Online. You'll also receive personalized training and onboarding from our team. Lastly is the enterprise plan that includes everything already mentioned, plus our custom integration with NetSuite, data import services, and customized reporting. So a full list of features and pricing will be sent to you after this webinar. And of course, send us any questions and we're happy to answer them one-on-one for your specific lab or company. So what's next? We'll be sending out an email with the webinar recording as well as some additional resources. So you can kind of go back through, review that recording, and I'll be sending out those links to some help center pages, pricing pages, things like that. If you are ready to get started, you're in the trial phase, or you haven't signed up for an account at all yet, you can go to quartzy.com and try it out. Or if you have more questions, again, send those over to sales@quartzy.com and you'll be able to set up time with a member of our team to learn more. Oops. And I think that, yeah, takes us to our question portion of the webinar. So we have a few minutes left. If you want to continue to use that Q&A section to ask any questions that you have lingering, please feel free to do that now. We'll kind of hang out. Nothing open right now, so maybe that means everybody got all their questions answered with that presentation. Yeah, so any last questions from anybody? I'm not seeing anything come in. All right, so I think that will wrap it up for us. Thank you all so much for joining. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about Quartzy and how it might help improve the workflow and processes in your lab. But I think that's all for today.
Excellent. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone.